We've got absolute chaos breaking out of Cleveland right now, and I mean full-blown drama. I'm not exaggerating when I say this might be one of the most awkward, tense moments of Kevin Stefanski's career, because after weeks, literally weeks, of dodging questions and avoiding giving a straight answer, the man finally had to stand up in front of reporters and admit it. Shedeur Sanders is now officially the Cleveland Browns QB2. But here's the wild part. Sources are saying this wasn't Stefanski's choice. Jimmy Haslam, the Browns' owner himself, cornered him after practice and basically said, "Enough's enough. It's time to be honest with the fans. You can't make this stuff up. This is the moment we've all been waiting for." But the way it went down? Whew, the coaching staff is absolutely fuming right now, and Stefanski looked like he'd just been handed bad news live on camera. And listen, I told y'all earlier this morning, there's been tension bubbling under the surface in Cleveland for weeks. Andrew Berry, Jimmy Haslam, and Kevin Stefanski are not on the same frequency right now. You can feel it. This whole quarterback situation has been messy from the start. Joe Flacco got traded out of nowhere last week, literally in the middle of the night, and then Dillon Gabriel goes out there and completely collapses in the fourth quarter. Meanwhile, all week long, reporters have been asking Stefanski one simple question. What's the deal with Shedeur Sanders? And he kept dancing around it like he didn't want to touch it. Let's build a totem pole together. Smash like, subscribe, and comment. If this video hits 900 likes, that means we're beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's make it happen. Fast forward to today's press conference, and let me tell you, man, Stefanski looked like a man being held hostage by reality. You could see it in his face, in his body language, in every stuttered word that came out of his mouth. He didn't want to be there, but the higher-ups forced his hand. Yes, Shedeur will be the backup. That's what he said. But it sounded more like an admission than an announcement. And that's where you know something deeper's going on behind the scenes. Because this isn't just about naming your backup quarterback. It's about who's really calling the shots in Cleveland right now. And from everything I'm hearing, it's not Kevin Stefanski. Let's rewind for a second. Wednesday, Stefanski was asked point-blank if Shedeur was ready to move up the depth chart. And he refused to answer, just sidestepped it completely. The media called him out. Fans were frustrated and everyone was asking the same thing. Why's this taking so long? I'll tell you why. It's because the decision wasn't his to make. Jimmy Haslam wanted Shedeur elevated. Andrew Berry was caught in the middle. And Stefanski? He was trying to protect his team, his locker room, and maybe even his job. Then boom! Wednesday night, out of nowhere, the Browns trade Joe Flacco. That's the guy who literally saved their season last year. Gone. And Stefanski admitted he was surprised by it. You know what that means? He didn't approve that move. When your head coach finds out a trade happened after it's already been finalized, you've got dysfunction. Period. The front office is making football decisions without telling the coaching staff, and that's a recipe for disaster. So when reporters asked Stefanski if he was shocked about the Flacco trade, you could see it in his face. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to say he was blindsided, but he caught himself, switched shocked to surprised, and tried to play it off. But we all knew. We could all feel it. That was the moment it became obvious there's a serious power struggle happening in Cleveland. And now, with Flacco gone, Dillon Gabriel struggling, and fan pressure at an all-time high, Stefanski had no choice but to bump Shedeur Sanders up to QB2. But again, this wasn't about football strategy. It was about optics. The Browns couldn't afford another week of the media hammering them with questions. Jimmy Haslam wanted control of the narrative, and he got it. Now look, I get where Stefanski's coming from. He's been saying all week that he wants to be intentional with his decisions regarding young quarterbacks, that he wants to make sure they're developed the right way. That's a coach talking. That's a man trying to protect a young player from being thrown into the fire before he's ready. And honestly, that's admirable, because we've seen too many talented rookies thrown to the wolves in this league before they were ready. But here's the problem. Time's running out. Stefanski doesn't have the luxury of patience anymore. The fan base is restless, the front office is meddling, and his starting quarterback has been inconsistent. So when he finally said the words, Shadur will be the backup, it didn't sound like a victory. It sounded like a surrender, and you could tell by the way he talked about it afterward. When asked what the key would be for Shadur now that he's QB2, Stefanski said, "All of us have our roles, and that backup quarterback role is a little bit different." Translation: Please don't make me play this kid yet. When asked if Shadur could run the same offense as Dillon Gabriel, he said, "With any quarterback, you play to their strengths." Translation: We're simplifying things if he gets in. That's not doubt in Shadur's talent. That's fear of the situation. Stefanski knows what he's walking into. The offensive line's been shaky. The receivers are banged up. The play calling's been criticized. And they're about to face a Minnesota defense that loves to blitz. That's a nightmare scenario for a rookie debut. Stefanski's trying to protect the kid, but the front office just threw him into the national spotlight whether he's ready or not. But here's where it gets interesting. Because for all this drama, for all the backroom politics, for all the awkward press conferences, one thing's become absolutely clear. Shadur Sanders is the future of this franchise, and everyone in Cleveland knows it. The arm talent? Legit. The poise? Rare. The leadership? You can't teach that. He's been around the game his whole life. He's been coached by Deion Sanders, one of the greatest to ever do it. He's been in the spotlight since high school, and the pressure doesn't faze him. If anything, he feeds off it. So yeah, he might be QB2 right now. But let's be real, that's just temporary. Because the moment Dillon Gabriel has another fourth-quarter meltdown, or the Browns' offense stalls again, the entire city of Cleveland is going to be calling for Shadur to take over. It's inevitable. That's why Stefanski dragged his feet on making this announcement. He knows the second Shadur steps on the field, there's no going back. And honestly, can you blame the fans? This city has been through every quarterback story you can imagine. They've had heartbreaks, rebuilds, and false hopes for years. They're tired of waiting. They want something new, something exciting, something that actually feels like the future. And Shadur Sanders represents that. So, yeah, this is a messy moment. The politics are ugly. The timing's awkward. The tension between the front office and the coaching staff is real. But at the end of the day, this might be the moment everything changes in Cleveland. Because for the first time, the door's open. The stage is set. And if Shadur gets his shot, I genuinely believe he's going to take it and never look back. Now, Jeudy didn't sound angry, but you could tell he was frustrated. You could feel that emotion behind every word, that mix of confusion and disappointment. He basically said, look, he trusts these young guys. He's seen them since OTAs, since minicamp. They've been grinding, learning, building chemistry. He knows who's been showing up and putting in the work. And he made it crystal clear, Shadur Sanders is one of those dudes. And I'll be honest, that says a lot. Because Jeudy didn't have to say any of this. He could have played it safe, said, I'll let the coaches decide, given us some canned PR answer. But instead, he went to bat for Shadur. He said flat out that Shadur's been a professional from day one. That he's done everything the coaches have asked, that he's studying, learning, mastering the playbook, and that when he gets his shot, he's going to make the most of it. I've been around this league a long time, man. I've seen what it looks like when a locker room quietly rallies around a young quarterback. It's a certain kind of energy. You can't fake it. And that's exactly what I'm hearing right now out of Cleveland. And Jeudy wasn't the only one speaking up either. Myles Garrett, the heart and soul of that defense, came out and praised Shadur for his commitment and work ethic. He said he sees him in the building early, in the coaches' offices, talking through plays, breaking down schemes, doing whatever it takes to stay ready. You don't hear that about every rookie. Trust me. That's not normal. That's leadership before you even get the title. Garrett talked about his maturity too, which is something I think fans overlook. You can't teach that. Some guys have it, and some don't. And Shadur? He's got it. You can tell he's not just showing up to play quarterback. He's showing up to lead men. But here's the frustrating part. Despite all this respect, despite the clear support from teammates and veterans, Kevin Stefanski still refuses to name him the QB1. And honestly, I'm starting to think this goes deeper than just development or readiness. It's starting to feel like fear. Fear of making a bold decision. Fear of handing the keys to a young player who might just take over the city. Stefanski keeps using that same old line, that Shedur's young, that they need to be careful with his development, that they're doing what's best for the team. But come on, that's the same recycled coach speak we've heard 1,000 times before when a staff is scared to shake things up. Meanwhile, you've got rookies like Quinton Judkins who barely got a full training camp, already getting reps. So what's the excuse now? Dan Orlovsky even called them out for it. He basically said, if Shedur's not your QB2 by now, what's going on? And he's absolutely right. There's no logical reason for Shedur not to be the backup at this point, unless there's some behind-the-scenes politics or ego at play. Because from every angle, talent, preparation, attitude, this kid checks every box. And here's the thing, man, fans aren't dumb. The dog pound knows what's going on. They see how Shedur carries himself. They hear the veterans praising him. They've watched the inconsistency at quarterback. And now the pressure is starting to build. Not just on Stefanski, but on the entire front office. If the Browns keep holding Shedur back, the fallout is going to be ugly. Because when you've got your own players publicly defending a young quarterback, that tells you one thing. The locker room believes in him. And when the locker room believes but the coach doesn't act, that creates tension. That's how locker rooms fracture. You can already feel that frustration building. From the fans, from analysts, from the players themselves. Everyone's just waiting for Stefanski to stop overthinking it and let Shedur play. Because if he doesn't, and Shedur ends up somewhere else, maybe with the Raiders, as the rumors suggest, you better believe the Browns will regret it. Big time. And I'll say this, because I've covered this team long enough to know how these stories end. The Browns have a history of overcomplicating simple decisions. They've done it for years. And right now, they're staring at one of the most naturally gifted young quarterbacks they've had in a long time. A kid who's got the work ethic, the composure, the leadership, and they're hesitating. You can't do that in this league. Opportunity doesn't wait around forever. If you've got a guy who's ready, you let him play. Period. So yeah, Jerry Jeudy and Myles Garrett said what a lot of people inside that building are already thinking but can't say out loud. It's time. It's time to hand Shedur Sanders the keys. Because if the Browns don't, they won't just lose a quarterback. They'll lose credibility. They'll lose the locker room. And worst of all, they'll lose the trust of a fan base that's been waiting decades for the future they can finally believe in. So I'm asking you guys, do you think Kevin Stefanski is making a massive mistake here? Is this about caution, or is it about ego? Drop your thoughts down below. Because I'm telling you, this story is far from over. And the next few weeks could define not just Shedur's future, but the entire direction of the Cleveland Browns franchise.